There is a scroll hidden in the forbidden archive of the Eastern Palace, written in blood, that bears only 3 words: I forgive you. No one knows who wrote it, or why it was sealed away, where even emperors fear to look. But I know. I was there the night the blood was spilled, and I carry the weight of those words like stones in my heart. This is the story of how love became betrayal, and how betrayal became something else entirely. The morning mist still clung to the willows when I first saw General Chen Lian ride through the gates of the capital. I was 16 years old, a minor court painter's daughter, standing among the crowds that had gathered to witness the return of our greatest warrior. He sat astride a black horse, his armor dulled by the dust of 1,000 li, his face carved from determination and exhaustion in equal measure. Behind him stretched a column of soldiers, their banners tattered but proud, the spoils of victory trailing in carts that groaned under the weight of tribute from the conquered northern kingdoms. But it was not the general who captured my breath that day. It was the man who rode at his right hand, whose presence seemed to draw light from the very air. His name was Lin Feng, and even then, before I knew anything of consequence or fate, I understood that he would be my undoing. Lin Feng was the general's sworn brother, bonded not by blood, but by something deeper, a brotherhood forged in the crucible of war, sealed with oaths spoken over wine and steel under distant stars. Where General Shen was thunder and stone, Lin Feng was wind and water, moving with a grace that made even the simple act of dismounting his horse seem like poetry. His eyes, when they swept across the crowd, held a sadness that spoke of things lost and never recovered. I did not know then that those eyes would one day look upon me with love, or that they would later fill with tears of the deepest regret. My father, Chen Wei, was summoned to the palace 3 days after the general's return. The emperor himself had commissioned a great painting to commemorate the victory, and my father, though humble, was known throughout the capital for his ability to capture not merely the appearance of things, but their essential spirit. He took me with him as his apprentice, as he often did, and so I entered the world of the imperial court with nothing but my brushes and my youth, innocent of the currents that would soon pull me under. The palace was a labyrinth of red pillars and golden tiles, of courtyards where ancient pines twisted toward heaven, and lotus pools reflected clouds like scattered jade. We were given quarters near the Palace of Literary Profundity, where scholars and artists gathered, and my father began his preliminary sketches while I ground ink and prepared silk. It was in the Garden of Contemplative Harmony that I encountered Lin Feng for the second time. I had gone there to observe the chrysanthemums, thinking their petals might serve as inspiration for the border decorations my father planned. The autumn flowers bloomed in defiant beauty, white and gold and crimson, and I was so absorbed in studying the way light fell through their layered petals that I did not hear his approach. "They're beautiful, aren't they?" His voice was soft, like rain on silk. In the north, we had no chrysanthemums, only ice and stone and the bones of our enemies. I turned, startled, and found him standing beneath a moon gate, framed by curved stone. Up close, I could see the thin scar that traced his jaw, the calluses on his hands, the way weariness sat upon his shoulders like an invisible cloak. But his eyes, those eyes held me fast. "Forgive me, my lord," I managed, bowing deeply. "I did not mean to intrude." "You intrude on nothing. These gardens belong to the emperor, and the emperor has opened them to those who would create beauty in his name." He stepped closer, studying my face with an intensity that made my heart race. "You are the painter's daughter. Chen Lian," they said. That he knew my name seemed impossible. I was no one, a shadow in my father's wake. "I asked about you," he continued, and a small smile touched his lips. "I saw you in the crowd the day we returned. You were the only person not cheering. You just watched, like you were seeing something the others couldn't." "I was watching the soldiers," I said quietly. "Their faces, even in victory, they looked haunted. The smile faded from his face. You saw truly then. War haunts everyone it touches. Victory is just another word for survival, and survival carries its own scars. We talked for hours that day as the sun traced its arc across the sky, and the chrysanthemums nodded in the breeze. He told me of the campaigns in the north, though he spoke little of the battles themselves. Instead, he described the vast steppes under starlight, the strange beauty of frost patterns on tent silk, the songs the nomads sang to their horses. He spoke of General Chen, his sworn brother, with a love that was almost painful in its devotion. I would die for him, Lin Feng said simply. He saved my life more times than I can count. When my family was disgraced, when my father was executed for speaking against a corrupt minister, General Shen took me in, gave me purpose, made me whole again. I heard the weight of obligation in his words, the chains of gratitude that bound him. But I was young and foolish, and I did not understand yet what such chains could do to a soul. In the weeks that followed, we met often in that garden. My father was absorbed in his great work, consulting with court officials and military advisors, sketching preliminary compositions that would capture the glory of the empire's triumph. I was left largely to my own devices, and my devices led me always to Lin Feng. We never planned our meetings. They simply happened, as if fate itself conspired to draw us together. He would speak of his past, and I would listen. I would paint the flowers, and he would watch, his presence a warmth at my back. Slowly, like ice melting in spring, the sadness began to lift from his eyes. Slowly, like flowers opening to sun, something grew between us that neither of us dared name, until the evening when the first snow fell. I was in the garden, trying to capture the precise moment when white petals became snowflakes, when transformation hung suspended in the air. Lin Feng found me there, shivering in my thin robe, my fingers stiff around the brush. Without a word, he removed his own cloak and draped it around my shoulders. The fabric held his warmth, his scent of sandalwood and steel. When I turned to thank him, I found his face very close to mine, his breath misting in the cold air. Lian, he whispered, and my name on his lips was a prayer and a confession. I should not. We cannot. But his hand rose to cup my cheek, and his touch burned away every word of protest. When his lips met mine, the world contracted to that single point of contact, that moment of surrender. The snow fell around us like blessing or curse, and I knew with absolute certainty that I loved him, and that this love would destroy me. We kept our love secret, as we had to. I was beneath his station, the daughter of a craftsman, while he was a decorated officer, a hero of the realm. But in the stolen hours between duty and propriety, we built a world that belonged only to us. He taught me to use a sword, laughing at my clumsy attempts. I painted his portrait in secret, trying to capture the gentleness that hid beneath his warrior's bearing. We spoke of impossible futures, of a small house far from the capital, of a life lived in simple peace. When this commission is complete, he promised, when your father's work is done and honored, I will speak to General Shen. He has the emperor's ear. Perhaps he can make the impossible possible. I believed him. I believed in the power of love to overcome station and circumstance. I was young, and I believed in many things that time would prove false. The first crack in our fragile world came on a winter evening when I was summoned to General Shen's private chambers. My father had fallen ill with a fever, and the general wished to discuss the progress of the great painting. I went alone, innocent of everything but the desire to serve my father's interests. General Shen received me in a room lined with weapons and maps, the tools of his trade. He was a man of perhaps 40 years, his face weathered by sun and wind, his body still powerful, despite the softness that peace was beginning to bring. He offered me tea with his own hands, a gesture of unexpected humility. Your father is a great artist, he began, his voice rough as stone grinding stone. But I wonder if his daughter shares his talents. He showed me sketches, asked my opinion on compositions, listened with apparent interest to my suggestions. As we talked, he moved closer until I could smell the wine on his breath. His hand, when it fell upon my shoulder, was heavy as an executioner's blade. "You are very beautiful, Chen Lian. Has anyone told you this?" Fear bloomed in my chest. "My lord, I should return to my father." "Your father is sleeping soundly. I made certain of it." His other hand caught my wrist, holding me in place. "Do you know what it means to be a general's favorite? The honors that could come to your family? Your father could be appointed to the Imperial Academy. You could want for nothing." I understood then the nature of the trap. To refuse would bring disgrace upon my father, possibly worse. To accept would be to betray everything I held sacred. I stood frozen, a bird hypnotized by a serpent, as his face descended toward mine. The door crashed open. Lin Feng stood in the doorway, his hand on his sword, his face white with fury. "Brother," he said, and the word was edged with broken glass. "Step away from her." General Shen released me, but his expression showed no shame, only irritation. "This is not your concern, Lin Feng. Everything concerning you is my concern. We are sworn brothers. We share everything." Lin Feng's voice shook. "But not this. Never this." Something ugly twisted across the general's features. "So that's how it is. You presume to lecture me on honor while you've been tumbling a painter's daughter in secret? Yes, I know about your little garden meetings. Did you think anything happens in this palace without my knowledge?" The silence that followed was terrible. I saw Lin Feng's hand tighten on his sword hilt, saw the general's cold smile, and understood that we had been players in a game whose rules we never understood. "You will end this dalliance," General Shen said flatly. "Tomorrow, I will announce my intention to take Chen Lian as a concubine. It will be a great honor for her family. The emperor himself will approve. I have already secured his blessing. And you, my brother, will support this decision, as you have always supported me, as you are oath-bound to do." "And if I refuse?" Lin Feng's voice was barely audible. "Then I will remember that your father was executed as a traitor. I will remember that you exist only because of my mercy. I will remember every favor, every protection, every grace I have extended to you, and I will collect what is owed." The general's smile widened. "But it will not come to that, because you are my brother, and brothers do not betray each other. Isn't that right?" I watched Lin Feng's face as the trap closed around him, watched duty and love wage war in his eyes, watched the moment when the chains of gratitude pulled tight and strangled everything else. "Yes, brother," he whispered. "Brothers do not betray each other." The general nodded, satisfied. "Good. Chen Lian, you may go. Compose yourself. Tomorrow will be a day of celebration." I fled like a wounded animal, tears blinding me. Behind me, I heard the general's voice. "You will attend the ceremony, Lin Feng. You will smile and offer congratulations. You will be happy for your brother's good fortune. This is how you repay your debts." That night, Lin Feng came to me one last time. I was in my quarters, having cried until no more tears would come, staring at nothing while my father slept his drugged sleep in the next room. He entered like a ghost, silent and pale. "Lian," he said. "Lian, forgive me." "Forgive you?" The words tasted like ashes. "You would give me to him. You would stand by and watch. I have no choice." The anguish in his voice stopped my accusations. "Don't you understand? He saved me. When everyone else turned away, when my own family's name was dirt and poison, he gave me a place, a purpose. Everything I am, I owe to him. And what of me? What do you owe me?" "Everything," he whispered. "My heart, my soul, my every breath. But I cannot betray him. The oath I swore." "Your oath binds you to honor him, not to feed me to his appetites." Lin Feng's face crumpled. He fell to his knees before me, pressing his forehead to the floor in the gesture of deepest abasement. "I am a coward. I am weak. I know this. But Lian, please, There may be another way. Give me time. Let me think. There is no time. Tomorrow he will claim me, and you will watch, and everything we were will die. He looked up at me then, tears streaming down his face. Then kill me. Take my sword and end my miserable life. I cannot bear this. I cannot bear to lose you, and I cannot betray my brother. Death would be kinder. I wanted to. Gods help me. I wanted to take that sword and drive it through his heart, but I loved him still, even in his weakness, even in his betrayal. Love is not so easily killed. Go, I said instead. Go and leave me to my fate. Perhaps in another life you will be stronger. Perhaps in another life we will both be braver than we are. He left weeping, and I sat alone in the darkness, my heart a stone in my chest, and wondered if there was any way to escape the net that had closed around us. The answer came from an unexpected source. In the hour before dawn, a servant brought me a message written on rice paper in an elegant hand. It bore no signature, but the seal was that of the Empress herself. If you would escape your fate, come to the garden of eternal spring at first light. Come alone. Tell no one. I went, though I knew it might be another trap. What did I have to lose? My future was already forfeit. The Empress was waiting among the plum blossoms, their pink petals glowing in the early light. She was a woman of middle years, beautiful still, but with a hardness around her eyes that spoke of decades navigating the treacherous waters of court politics. Chen Lian, she said, without preamble, you have caught the attention of powerful men. This is rarely fortunate for women such as us. Your Majesty, I never sought. She raised a hand. I know, the innocent never do, but innocence is no shield in this place. She studied me with eyes that missed nothing. General Shen is a hero, but he is also a man who believes the world exists for his pleasure. He has taken 3 concubines already. None have fared well. My blood chilled. What happened to them? One died in childbirth. One was sent away for failing to produce a son. The third, she hangs herself last spring. The general called it a tragedy. I call it an inevitability. Why are you telling me this? Because I have a proposition. The Empress moved closer, her robes whispering against stone. General Shen has grown too powerful. He wins victories for the Emperor. Yes, but he grows arrogant. He thinks himself above reproach. I would see him brought low. I don't understand what this has to do with me. You will become his concubine as planned. You have no choice in that. The Emperor has blessed the union. But you will be my eyes and ears in his household. You will learn his secrets. And when the time is right, you will help me destroy him. I stared at her, shocked. You ask me to become a spy, to betray the man who is taking you against your will, the man who is forcing the one you love to watch? Her voice was sharp. I offer you revenge, child. And more, I offer you eventual freedom. Help me bring down General Shen, and I will see you safely away from this place. I will provide for your father, secure his position, and give you the means to disappear. You can go anywhere, be anyone, even perhaps be reunited with Lin Feng, far from here, where no oaths bind him. It was tempting, so tempting, but I had to know. Why? Why does the Empress concern herself with one general's concubine? Her face hardened. Because 20 years ago, I was like you, a girl of no importance who caught the eye of a powerful man. I survived by becoming harder than stone, colder than winter. I clawed my way to power over the bodies of rivals and the ruins of my own innocence. But you still have something to save. Your love, your spirit, and I would not see another young woman destroyed if I can prevent it. So I agreed. What choice did I have? And perhaps a small dark part of me wanted what she offered, the chance to hurt the man who had hurt me, to make General Shen pay for his arrogance. The ceremony was held at noon, before the full court. I was dressed in red silk, my hair adorned with golden chrysanthemums. I looked like a bride, but I felt like a sacrifice. Lin Feng stood beside his sworn brother, his face a careful mask, his eyes dead. When they met mine, I saw the depth of his suffering, but I felt no sympathy, only a cold, hard anger. General Shen took my hand with proprietary satisfaction. The emperor bestowed his blessing. Officials congratulated my father, who was still too ill to fully understand what was happening. And through it all, I smiled my painted smile and played my part. That night, when General Shen claimed his rights as my master, I closed my eyes and thought of chrysanthemums, of autumn gardens, of snow falling on two lovers who believed, however briefly, that love could conquer all. I detached my spirit from my body and floated somewhere above, watching a girl who looked like me endure what must be endured. When it was over, the general slept heavily, saddened, and I began my real work. Over the following months, I learned the general's secrets. I learned that his great victories were built partly on stolen credit, battles won by subordinates that he claimed as his own. I learned of the bribes he took from merchants seeking military contracts. I learned of his correspondence with border lords, promises made that skirted dangerously close to treason. I passed everything to the Empress through the network of servants she had placed in the general's household, and I saw Lin Feng rarely, though his presence haunted the edges of my existence. He avoided me, unable to bear the sight of what his weakness had wrought. When we did encounter each other at formal functions, he looked through me as if I were a ghost. But I was not a ghost. I was very much alive, and I was transforming. The soft girl who had painted chrysanthemums was hardening into something else, something capable of smiling at the man who used her while plotting his destruction, something capable of revenge. The trap was sprung on a spring evening, exactly 1 year after the general had claimed me. The emperor summoned General Shen to the throne room, ostensibly to discuss a new campaign. But when the general arrived, he found the court assembled, their faces grave. The empress sat beside her husband, triumph barely concealed in her eyes. General Shen Maoyang, the emperor began, his voice heavy with sorrow. You have served this empire with distinction. Your victories have extended our borders and filled our treasuries. But it has come to my attention that you have also filled your own coffers with gold that belongs to the state. What followed was a recitation of the general's crimes, each backed by evidence, by letters in his own hand, by testimony from servants and officials. I watched from behind a screen, as was proper for women of the household, and felt a savage joy as his face paled, as understanding dawned that he was caught, that the net had closed around him as surely as it had once closed around me. These crimes demand your life, the emperor continued, but in recognition of your service, I am merciful. You will be stripped of your rank and sent into exile in the far west, where you will live out your days as a commoner. Your property is forfeit. Your household is dissolved. General Shen's eyes swept the room, seeking allies, finding none. When his gaze fell upon the empress, I saw him understand. His mouth twisted in bitter recognition. Then he looked past her, past the screen, and somehow, impossibly, his eyes found mine, and he smiled. Before I am taken, he said loudly, I would exercise my right to speak. The emperor nodded, wary. I am guilty of everything charged, the general said. I do not dispute it. I took bribes. I stole glory. I have been a poor servant of the empire, but I was not alone in my crimes. There is another traitor in this court, one who wears the face of loyalty while plotting betrayal, one who spoke against me to save his own skin. My blood turned to ice. No, he couldn't. My sworn brother, Lin Feng, was party to every crime I committed. The letters bear his seal as witness. The bribes were collected by his hand. He is as guilty as I am. More so, for he would betray the oath we swore to save himself. Lin Feng stepped forward, his face white. That is a lie, is it? Then why is your seal on these documents? Why did you accompany me to meetings with the border lords? Why did you accept gold from the merchants? General Shen's voice was calm, almost gentle. You thought I did not know that you fed information to the Empress? I have known for months. I allowed it, because I knew that when I fell, I would pull you down with me. This is what you get for choosing a woman over your brother. This is the price of betrayal. The room erupted in chaos. Officials shouted. The emperor demanded order, and I sat frozen, watching my revenge transform into something terrible. They arrested Lin Feng on the spot. The evidence was damning. His seal was indeed on the documents, his presence at the meetings confirmed by witnesses. He had been the general's right hand, after all. Even if he had not profited from the crimes, even if he had been ignorant of their true nature, he was implicated beyond redemption. As soldiers seized him, his eyes found mine through the screen. And in that moment, I saw not accusation, but sorrow. Sorrow and love, and a terrible understanding. The general was exiled. Lin Feng was sentenced to death. I had wanted revenge, and I had achieved it. But the cost was unthinkable. The Empress summoned me the night before Lin Feng's execution was to take place. Her chambers were filled with shadow and candlelight, and her face was troubled. "This was not the outcome I intended," she said quietly. "I wanted only to bring down General Shen. I did not anticipate his final revenge." "Can you not speak to the Emperor? Lin Feng is innocent, is he?" "The evidence suggests otherwise. And even if he is innocent, the Emperor cannot be seen to reverse his judgment without cause. It would make him appear weak." She paused. "But there may be another way." She told me of a secret passage that led from the dungeons to the river. She told me of a boat that would be waiting, and papers that would allow passage beyond the Empire's borders. She told me that she could arrange for Lin Feng's cell to be left unguarded for 1 hour after midnight. "This is all I can offer," she said. "Save him, if you can, and then both of you must disappear. The Empress's favor extends only so far." "Why?" I whispered. "Why help him now?" "Because I am tired of watching love die in the name of duty. Because perhaps, if I save one pair of lovers, it will redeem some small portion of my own lost innocence." She pressed a jade pendant into my hand. "Go, quickly, and do not return." I went to the dungeon like a shadow, like a ghost, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might shatter my ribs. The guards were absent, as promised. Lin Feng sat in his cell, his head bowed, waiting for death. "Lian," he breathed when he saw me, "you should not have come. I came to free you. There is a way out, a boat waiting. We can escape." "No." The word was final. "I cannot." "What?" "Lin Feng, they will execute you at dawn." "I know, and I deserve it." He looked at me with terrible clarity. "Not for the general's crimes. I was innocent of those. But for my crime against you, against us. I betrayed our love to honor an oath to a man who was never worthy of it. I was a coward when you needed me to be brave. Death is a lighter sentence than I deserve." "Don't be a fool." I was weeping now, tearing at the cell door. "I forgive you. Do you hear me? I forgive you. Now come with me, please." He reached through the bars and cupped my face with infinite gentleness. "You forgive me, but I cannot forgive myself. And Lian, my love, my heart, if I run now, I will spend the rest of my life running. The general's final revenge will have succeeded. He will have proven that I am a traitor, a coward, someone who abandoned his oath to save his own skin. Who cares what he proved? He is gone. I care. I have lived my whole life trying to rebuild the honor my father lost. If I die with honor intact, if I face this punishment for crimes I did not commit, then at least my name will remain clean. Future generations will remember me as someone who faced death bravely, not as someone who fled into exile. I understood then that I could not save him. His chains were not made of iron, but of pride and stubborn principle. And perhaps, in some twisted way, he was right. Perhaps this was his path to redemption, not through running, but through standing firm. "Then I will stay with you," I said. "Until the end. No, you will live, you will leave this place and find the happiness we never could. You will paint chrysanthemums in some distant garden and remember me when autumn comes." His smile was unbearably sad. "That is all I ask. Live, Lian. Live for both of us." He pressed something into my hand. His sword. The one he had carried through all his campaigns. "Keep this, and know that I loved you more than honor, more than oaths, more than life itself. I just loved you too late, and too weakly. Forgive me for that too, if you can." They came for him at dawn. I watched from a distance as they led him to the execution ground, his back straight, his head high. He knelt without resistance. The executioner raised his blade. I could not watch the end. I turned away, my eyes blurred with tears, and felt the world shatter into pieces, too small to ever reassemble. But I kept my promise. I fled the capital, using the papers the Empress had provided. I traveled south, then west, always moving, until I reached a small village in the mountains where no one knew my name or story. I built a small house with a garden. I planted chrysanthemums. I painted, not for courts or emperors, but for myself. And every autumn, when the flowers bloomed, I remembered a love that was betrayed and a betrayal that led to redemption. Years passed. My father died peacefully, his last days comfortable thanks to the pension the Empress had secured. General Shen perished in exile, alone and unmourned. The empire moved on, as empires do, forgetting its fallen heroes and their complicated truths. But I never forgot. One autumn evening, when my hair had begun to show silver and my hands were no longer as steady with the brush, a monk came to my door. He was old, bent with years, but something in his eyes was familiar. "Mistress Chen," he said, his voice rough from long silence, "I have carried something for many years that belongs to you." He held out a scroll, yellowed with age. I unrolled it with trembling hands and found words written in faded ink. "I forgive you." My breath caught. "This is written the night before his execution," the monk said. "I was the prison chaplain. He gave it to me and asked that I deliver it to you when the time was right. He said you would understand." I stared at those 3 words, and finally, after all the years, I understood. Lin Feng had forgiven me, not for anything I had done, but for living when he could not, for carrying the burden of our story, for surviving, and in understanding his forgiveness, I finally found my own. The monk left as quietly as he had come. I took the scroll to my garden, where the chrysanthemums bloomed in defiant beauty, and I sat among them as the sun set. Lin Feng's sword lay across my knees, its blade still sharp after all these years. "I forgive you too," I whispered to the gathering darkness. "I forgive you for being human, for being weak when you needed to be strong, for loving your honor more than you loved me. I forgive all of it." The wind stirred the flowers, and for a moment, I could almost feel his presence beside me, his hand on my shoulder, his breath warm against my neck, the ghost of a love that had been betrayed but never broken, the echo of a redemption earned through acceptance rather than escape. I hung the scroll in the forbidden archive myself, years later, when I returned to the capital as an old woman for my father's memorial. I placed it where emperors fear to look, where scholars dare not venture, where secrets go to sleep. Let it rest there, I thought. Let someone else discover it someday and wonder at the story it implies. This has been that story. A story of love and revenge, of betrayal and redemption, of the choices we make and the prices we pay, of the forgiveness we grant others, and harder still, the forgiveness we grant ourselves. The chrysanthemums bloom every autumn, beautiful and brief, and I tend them still, an old woman with paint-stained hands and a heart full of ghosts, remembering, forgiving, letting go, but never, ever forgetting.